So you've got your resistance band around your thighs. You're lying down flat, so resting your head on your arm. Bring those knees up so that you've got a 90-degree angle at the hip. Now, from this position, what we're going to do is simply hinge from the hip, lifting the leg up and down. Do your best to keep your upper body relaxed, belly button gently drawn into spine, shoulder blades are gently drawn down and back. And to progress, try not to let your knee touch each other. To make it a bit easier, just increase the angle at the hip, so lower the level of the knee and keep going. Okay, so what we're doing is activating through the glutes, switching on those all-important stabilizers so that they're fired up and ready to go for the rest of the workout. Like I said, to modify, increase the angle at the hip. To make it harder, bring those knees up further and keep at the top of the range. So just work towards the top of the range, becomes a much harder exercise. When you're doing this and when you're setting up, make sure those hips feel stacked on top of one on top of the other so that you're not leaning too far forward or leaning too far back. And that's going to help you get the most out of that quite intense but very effective exercise. Next, we go into a kneeling bent leg hip extension. So we are in the hands and knees position. You're actually resting here with the hands underneath the shoulders, the knees are underneath the hips. And what we're going to do from this position is decide which leg we're starting with. You're going to flex the foot and we're going to lift the leg. Now, you'll notice that my foot, like I said, is flexed and I'm pressing my flat foot up towards the ceiling. What I want to make sure that you practice is keeping your core muscles tight, so belly button to spine, and reasonably level through the hip. Because there can be a tendency when you lift that leg that your hips will roll out. You'll have a rotation through the hip. So do your best to keep the movement of the leg fairly small and concise so that your hips stay square on and level without too much rotation. So the tempo is 1 up, 2 down as a guide. Depending on how much intensity you have in your band, you might feel like you need to go faster. But as a baseline, 1 up, 2 down. Breathe out, breathe in. Now, when you're doing it, you're squeezing your glutes as hard as you can, as well as keeping that belly button drawn to the spine, like I just mentioned. You're keeping your head aligned to the spine, so you're not allowing the upper body to slump forward. A little bit of tension between the shoulder blades. And this exercise is for your glutes as well. Like I said, this is all about activating and switching on those all-important stabilizer muscles, which are your glutes. To modify, you could do this without the band or obviously with a lighter band. And to increase the intensity, you're going to want to move quickly and stay fairly high at the top of the move. So try not to let the knee come down too far. That's how you would make this a whole lot harder. Okay, so just decide your level. Start with the most advanced version that you can manage, and even if you can get only 1 or 2 or 3 reps out, you can always modify and come back to that point. We then move into a single leg glute bridge. So you can keep your band where it is or you can get rid of it, doesn't really matter. But what you're doing is you're lying down flat on your back. You're going to place one foot on the other knee. You're going to keep your arms down for beginners. So palms are facing up, arms are by your side if you're just getting started. Make sure the flat foot on the floor is in close to your backside. Lift your toes up in your shoes, push through the heels as you come up and down. Advanced girls, or if you've been training for a while, take your arms off the floor to reduce the base support and encourage your deep core to work that much harder to stabilize you. Because what you want to avoid is lowering or dropping of the one hip. So what you can do regularly, whether you're here with your arms on the floor or here, is just put your hands on your hips as you move through the exercise to just get a little bit of feedback to make sure that your hips are staying level as you move up and down. Now again, remember that we're working the glutes, so obviously it's a single leg exercise, so all of your focus and attention is in the glute muscle of the leg that you're pushing from. You want to keep that glute contracted as much as possible, not only as you drive the body up, but also as you lower your body. Keep the squeeze in the glutes. Now, girls who want to make this a harder exercise, you're not going to actually connect back to the floor at all during your set. So you're just going to work at the very top of the movement, almost tapping the hip to the floor, but not quite. If you're just getting started, you can obviously rest to make it a bit easier for yourself. And again, to make it even harder, you would stay even closer to the top of the exercise and go double time. okay? And that's how you would do the single leg glute bridge with those exercise options.